Hey, I'm Mark. I'm a history teacher gone rogue. And I'm also M. Timothy Haggard, author of The Harlot Princess, Rahab's Journey from Sin to Royalty, in online form and on paperback at your Amazon Kindle bookstore. I put the link in the description. We've been doing a series here about the Battle of Jericho in the book of Joshua in the Old Testament, the Jewish Tanakh. Not much of a battle. First, we looked at evidence that the Jordan River may have been dammed temporarily, if not by supernatural causes, then by natural causes, flowing through the highly seismic Jordan Rift Valley, dammed up long enough to allow the Israelite nation of 400,000 to cross over into the Promised Land. We then looked at the archaeological digs of Jericho and the dating of the city's destruction, whether it occurred in 1407 BC, as the book of Joshua suggests, or 1550, as concluded by Kathy and Kenyon. In the last video, we looked at evidence that the battle did occur as recorded in the book of Joshua, the evidence that the walls did fall and that they fell outward and not inward, creating a ramp for the Israelites to breach the revetment wall underneath. We looked at grain, and we looked at a structure still standing along the north wall of the city, perhaps Rahab's house. I'm not going to lie. I want you to go to Amazon Kindle bookstore and buy my novel, The Harlot Princess. So who is this Harlot Princess? Well, it's Rahab. Rahab is a citizen of Jericho, an Amorite. See, the Amorites were the people that lived in the cities along either side of the Jordan River at the south end of the land of Canaan. They did despicable things in the names of their gods. Asherah was a fertility goddess. Her priestesses resided under Asherah poles, trees stripped of their branches. I think you can catch the imagery. And they allowed men to test their fertility with them. Jericho itself was named for Yarik, god of the moon and the illuminator of the night sky. He demanded a different kind of sacrifice. Like many other gods of the ancient Middle East, he demanded the sacrifice of children, hundreds of them, every month. And the Amorites of Jericho complied. The other thing that the book of Joshua tells us about Rahab is that she was a prostitute, not married, engaging perhaps hundreds of men for sex in her young life. Imagine what filth accompanies that lifestyle at a time when regular hygiene was hard to come by. She sold sex. But what man would truly love her? Nevertheless, the Israelite spies enter Jericho and begin to reconnoiter the city. The city defenses get word of the Israelite spies and begin to look. What I want is a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, henhouse, outhouse, and doghouse in this city. The spies hole up in Rahab's house and she harbors them. She then makes this admission. I know that the Lord has given you this land and that a great fear of you has fallen upon us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the two kings of the Amorites east of the river, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on earth below. Now then, please swear by me, by the Lord, that you will show kindness to my family. The spies agreed to the pledge, and she helps them escape Jericho. Imagine the spies having to tell Joshua that they were made to strike a pledge for their lives with an Amorite prostitute, a foreigner involved in the most sinful of lifestyles. That goes against everything the Israelites stand for. By law, Joshua would have to kill her for being an Amorite and then stone her for being a prostitute. But Joshua demanded that her life be spared. In reality, the Old Testament story of Jericho is kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Rahab and the Israelite spies are kind of like Indiana Jones and I guess Marion Ravenwood and Salah. Whether Indiana Jones got involved in the search for the Ark or not, the Nazis still would have found the Ark and opened the Ark, and Dietrich's head would shrivel up, Tote's face would melt, and Belloc's head would still explode. And whether the Israelite spies reconnoitered the city or not, the walls of Jericho would have still fallen down. So why did God prompt Joshua to send 2 spies into the city? Their mission, unbeknownst to them, or to Rahab, and certainly unbeknownst to Joshua, was specifically to contact Rahab. Yeah, there are some that want to deny the truth about Rahab. They want to make her out to be an Israelite that somehow ended up living amongst the Amorites in Jericho, and that she wasn't a prostitute, she was simply an innkeeper. We've interpreted the language incorrectly. But to do that is to deny the role of grace. A lot of religions and pseudo-religions try to make their heroes out to be superhuman. The Bible doesn't do that. The Bible tells its story through deeply flawed people. Abraham denied that God would be able to keep his promises. Moses was a murderer. David was an adulterer who tried to cover up his adultery by manufacturing the death of one of his own generals. 3 times Peter denied knowing Jesus. Paul persecuted the early Christians, going as far as authorizing the stoning of Stephen, the first Christian martyr. These people became holy not because of anything that they did, but because of what God did. And God spared Rahab. Not just that. He allowed her to become a part of the Israelite community, grafted in. Not just that. She married an Israelite, a man named Salmon, who's the father of Boaz, who's the father of Obed, the father of King David. And in Matthew 1, she is one of only 4 women named in the human lineage of Jesus Christ. That should provide hope to anyone. It doesn't matter how many times you attend church, how many Hail Marys you say, how well your chakras are centered. Any good that we do is only filthy rags compared to the holiness of God. But our past can be composed of the filthiest of rags, and the blood of Christ can make that entirely clean. Just as Rahab, by acknowledging the holiness of God, was saved from destruction, made clean, and became part of the lineage of Jesus. What does that mean for us? Well, we are all a harlot, prostituting ourselves to our sinful desires. God sent his son Jesus to spy on us, and by confession of our faith, he seeks to save us from destruction, to make us clean, to court us, to marry us, so that we can live with him for eternity. The Harlot Princess, Rahab's Journey from Sin to Royalty by M. Timothy Haggard. Get your copy today from Amazon Bookstore. I'll put the web address in the comments below. Hey, thanks for coming by. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. If I did it right, you did both. I hope you were encouraged. Hey, I had fun, but I won't quit my day job. And remember me, I am M. Timothy Haggard. I'm a history teacher. And I've gone rogue.